right, great. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to our second speaker today. As I was mentioning, he's a banker by profession who joined Toastmasters in February 2020. He has completed one pathway and is now on his way to completing his second, and inshallah to become soon our Karachi Toastmasters next distinguished Toastmaster, inshallah. And to evaluate him, I'd like to ask DTM Talha to please share his objectives. Over to you, DTM Talha.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Hina. And just for your information, I've told DQ that he won't get a DTM until there's a new club in Habib Bank Limited. So yeah, and that will complete your DTM project in club mentorship in one go. So yeah, there you go. Yeah. So but today it is a joyous occasion for all of us because Toastmaster Ghulam Qadir completes his second pathway. The purpose of this project is for the member to reflect on his or her growth during the completion of the entire path. The purpose of the speech is for the member to share some aspect of his or her growth during the completion of a path. So it's pretty much a summary of whatever Toastmaster Ghulam Qadir learned in the pathway, and he has a choice to cover the whole path or maybe just some aspects of it. We have all seen him complete this path, and we have all seen his speeches during this time. So we all know him pretty well, and we all have seen what he puts into each and every speech. So it will be tremendously interesting to learn what he takes away from the experience. Everyone, please put your hands together for Toastmaster Ghulam Qadir. Slow and steady wins the race. No, it doesn't. Slow and steady wins the race. Toastmaster Ghulam Qadir.
I still remember that day. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon when my sister called me up. Ghulam Qadir, are you available in the evening? I asked her, why? She told me that there is a meeting, Toastmasters meeting, and we should go and attend. Okay, let's go and explore what this is all about. So by 6 o'clock, she picked me from my office. And we were driving on our way to Beach Luxury Hotel without knowing what is going to come next, what lies ahead of us, and what sort of a life-changing experience it is going to be. So it was February 2020, and we entered into a big hall of a Beach Luxury Hotel. And there was an international speech contest going on. We attended that contest, and immediately I told myself, yes, this is the right place for me to be here. So that was a start back in February 2020. But there was an uphill task, and which was to select which pathway, in what base camp, and what sort of academic procedure is all about in the Toastmasters. So there, at that point in time, our VPE and our current president, DTM Talha, helped me out in selecting the pathway. Yes, I had a conversation with him, and I told him that my weak point is the presentation skills. So he told me to select the pathway of presentation mastery. So that was my first pathway. And then what happened next? Just like a hare, I started my journey. In the first 6 months, I cleared and I completed my first pathway. That is August 2020. And I was excited, and I was jubilant, and I was on the top of the moon that I have completed the first pathway and have achieved something extraordinary without knowing what next is going to come. So immediately, knowing DTM Talha, he did not let me enjoy my happiness. He did not let me enjoy my completion of my first pathway and assigned me 2 prodigies and added me to a WhatsApp group with the title DTM Fast Track. Oh, what is this all about, DTM Fast Track? I just completed my first pathway, and what is this all about? And immediately he shared an Excel sheet. Boom. And I opened that Excel sheet, and I just realized I just completed the first task to become a DTM. That is the first pathway. And what? I have to complete another pathway, and I have to be in some sort of these leadership roles, like a club sponsor, a club mentor, and a DTM project. So that lies an uphill task in front of me. So that was a point where I had to take a decision as to what will be my second pathway. So I again consulted DTM Talha and at our very own Toastmaster Imran Rana. What should be my next pathway? So I decided that my next pathway should be dynamic leadership. Why dynamic leadership? This dynamic leadership pathway, I thought that would help me in my professional career as well as in my role, different roles in the Toastmasters journey. Because that was a point where I was told, now you have to take a leadership role and you have to become a part of the ExCom of the club. So that was the decision why I chose this pathway dynamic leadership after completing the presentation mastery skills. So the journey started in August. But unlike my first pathway, it took me 1.5 years. So the first pathway completed in 6 months, and this one is getting completed after 1.5 years. So the reason, the hare has now turned into a tortoise. So the tortoise, but never gave a hope. And the tortoise continued his journey, meeting after meeting. Yes, I took some breaks in between because of my professional commitments, but here am I at this day completing my second pathway. So what this dynamic leadership is all about, it has 5 levels, just like any other pathway. The first 2 levels are common, in which we give our icebreakers, in which we give some research work, and then we give evaluation and feedback. Those are the assignments, those are the projects which we do. From the 3rd level onwards, it gets elective, and you have to select and the electives as to what sort of a project you're going to give. So most of them were related to the leadership skills, like types of leaderships and what sort of leadership skill you have to use in different environments. So after this completion of this pathway, I strongly believe that I have improved now with my leadership skills, both at the Toastmasters as well as in my day-to-day work life at my official commitments. So here, instead of going into nitty-gritty and details of every project, I would really like to thank those people who have contributed in getting me to this level, especially our very own district director, DTM Talha, our current VPE, Toastmaster Imran Rana, who has really played an immense role in each of our successes and each of our completion of pathways. Toastmaster Urusa, she has also played a vital role. And of course, all my fellow members of the Karachi Toastmasters who have time and again persuaded me, both by telling me and also by performing themselves in front of me. Because when a Toastmaster performs in front of you, it automatically gives you an encouragement, a motivation to excel in your career. Now, the next part from what I'm going to do, of course, I'm going to take, without wasting any time, a next pathway. And by consulting DTM Tala and Toastmaster Imran Nana and few of my ex-com members, and as Toastmaster DTM Talha has mentioned, the remaining tasks are yet to be completed, including the DTM project, the sponsorship, and the mentorship. That's it from my side. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster GQ, for taking us through this wonderful journey of yours through these two pathways. With that, I will now hand over charge to your lead evaluator, Toastmaster DTM Talha. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Hira. And just to give a heads up, everyone, DTM Sudarshan is our round robin recommendation, and Toastmaster Fahim, you are our round robin commendation. So please gear up, and let me start my evaluation. Let me turn on the timing. So here it is. Yeah. So Toastmaster Ghulam Qadir. First of all, congratulations on completing the path. Second of all, congratulations on delivering a very well coordinated and somehow rhythmic and visually appealing speech. And this is where your first commendation comes from. Your whole setup was very well lit. You were perfectly visible on the stage. You were perfectly audible. And it was a delight to watch because of those beats. Secondly, I like the structure of your speech. You first detailed your journey as a Toastmaster, and then within it, you detailed your journey through this pathway. And that was something quite innovative and also quite different from what we usually see. Thirdly, you exuded confidence throughout, and you managed to convince us that you learned a lot through this second pathway. And every time we see you speak, which is rare, we see that you're continuously learning. No, I won't stop from that. Okay, yeah, I'm the president. So, but anyhow, now few improvement areas. First of all, there is a Toastmaster Ghulam Qadir shaped hole in this whole speech. How is that? You managed to finish in 8 minutes 30 seconds. You could have easily gone up to 12 minutes, right? And I believe that while I don't believe extending the speeches just for the sake of reaching the minimum time, I believe that they can be crafted to reach the minimum time. And the way you could have crafted is that you could have incorporated a very effective tale of your personal journey, which you have mentioned elsewhere, uh, about how this journey transformed you as a human, as a professional. Yes, you gave some hints of it in your speech, but perhaps you could have elaborated it a little more. And that would have been more inspirational for those people who are on their pathways. Uh, Not just about getting on the DTM fast track and completing the other tasks, but the more important thing is how the journey changes you, transforms you, and upgrades you as a human being. You mentioned mentoring, and I believe you could have emphasized a little more on the mentoring part, because mentoring allows you to potentially change the life of another person. And that is something very, very big. That is bigger than any certification or award. So you could have expounded on that. And the second improvement area is that maybe it's now time that you find some other techniques to open your speech in a more bombastic and dramatic way. I mean, that's not something of a shortcoming in your speech, because your speeches have a perfect start. But just to change things up a little, maybe you can find a different way. So overall, great speech delivered with great setup, great coverage of journey, could have used a little more content towards the personal side, and could have used a different way to start the speech. But overall, congratulations on completing the pathway. Over to you, lead evaluator, 3 minutes and 28 seconds. Wow. All right. So Now it is time for our commendations and round robin recommendations. And for that, I'll call on the stage once again our dear friend DTM Sudarshan. Over to you, DTM Sudarshan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lead Evaluator. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and our speaker of the morning, Toastmaster Ghulam Qadir. My recommendations are three. Recommendation number one, the speech objectives for a reflective speech on the path that was traveled calls for the speaker to look back on every project that was done and share with the audience the nuances of how that individual traveled through the path. And that I thought was an opportunity missed. The speaker today spent inordinately great amount of time talking about his individual journey through Toastmasters in general as opposed to his journey through the path. And that particular element is required and very vital for both the speaker and the audience, because if I'm traveling on the same path, I would like to know how to navigate, what are the pitfalls to observe, and what are the opportunities to build on. So that is my first recommendation. The second recommendation is the speaker had the courage and the audacity to stand and deliver. However, the movements were a little uncoordinated. The speaker was doing the classical Toastmasters dance of coming front, going back, and again coming front. This kind of leads to distraction. I would prefer that if the speaker anchors himself to a particular spot and speaks, that might keep the speaker grounded and the audience engaged. And the last recommendation is the speaker's natural forte seems to be good English usage. I would have preferred to see some more bombast in the words, some more depth in the language use itself. However, overall, I thought it was a very reflective speech which conveyed to us his gratitude towards having been able to complete his two paths in such a short time. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. Lead Evaluator.
Thank you so much, DTM Sudarshan. And while you exceeded the time, like most of the time this week, it was every extra second was more than worth it. So thank you so much for that absolutely fantastic feedback. And I'm sure that Toastmaster Ghulam Qadir appreciates it as much as I do, and all of us do. So thank you so much once again. Now we have commendations, and for commendations, I'll call Toastmaster Fahim Razak. Toastmaster Fahim, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And hello, everyone, and especially you, TDM Ghulam Qadir. Your speech, once again, although I couldn't unfortunately see the visual effects of it, but I heard every bit of it whilst driving, and I had to rush home because my Wi-Fi connection wasn't too stable outside. Overall, once again, you never fail to inspire us. Every time I've seen you, I've witnessed you in the KTC club, we look forward to your speech. And as I've heard from people that you don't need the time to prepare the speech, you are natural. And your naturality of your verbalism did convey to us once again. I think in terms of, I'm just assuming this is just the positive stuff that we need to, that I'm saying, right, DTM Tala?
Yes, commendation.
So I think your content of the speech was brilliant. You did inspire us, especially the newbies like me and any other guests that will hear it, and any other new Toastmasters. You did inspire us to complete the pathway, to complete the both pathways, make our journey towards the DTM. And I'm sure we will get a lot of inspiration from it. And we look forward to some more and more speeches from you, inshallah, in the coming weeks and months. Over to you, DTM Tala.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Fahim. And I can vouch for you in experiencing connectivity issues, because even right now I'm seeing half the windows and half the windows I'm not seeing, even though many people have their videos turned on. So I don't know what's going on, but there is certain connectivity issue. So thank you so much for that. And before handing over the charge to our Toastmaster of the day for the third speech, I will ask our speaker to give his feedback within 1 minute on the evaluations that he has received. So Toastmaster GQ, over to you.
Okay. I didn't know this is also the part of this academy session because I'm attending this for the very first time. But thank you very much, DTM Tala and DTM Sudarshan and Toastmaster Fahim Razak for your feedback and evaluation. And I would say that a very fair and a justice evaluation has been done today. And yes, there are certain weaknesses which have already been highlighted. Because this was the first time I was speaking in front of those DTM Sudarshan, but the same recommendations have already been highlighted by my fellow Toastmasters and DTMs at KTCs. So yes, I have to improve on those aspects, and somehow it has to have a regularity, which DTM Tala has mentioned. If I have to overcome those areas, those weaknesses, and so I have to be very regular. Unfortunately, I've been irregular in attending these meetings, and that's the result of that I've just completed this pathway in 1.5 years, and the first one was done in the first 6 months. So that clearly shows that I have been irregular over here. So yes, consistency is the name of the game for every one of us, including myself. And yes, I have to be consistent in giving my speeches. Thank you very much, everyone, for giving me such a kind recommendations and suggestions.
Back to you, DTM Talha.
Yes. Thank you so much, DTM DQ. And first of all, please don't think that your speech wasn't a wonderful speech. It was absolutely fantastic. This is the advanced format where we tend to focus more on the improvement areas. And secondly, just being regular is not the answer, because like me, if you're regular enough, you can also have the full potential to repeat the same mistakes regularly. So the important thing is to learn and incorporate the feedback into your future speeches, and which you always do. So thank you so much once again, and congratulations on completing your path. And over to you, Toastmaster Ghulam.